back to the booth here at Pro Tour Amsterdam. It is finals time, Pankaj. This is absolutely the moment we live for. It is why we head out every morning to cast these events, the highest stakes possible. And what a Cinderella story. I really could not have written this top 8 any better. Why don't we go ahead and review the bracket, remind ourselves how we got here. It has been a long day, although that match moved much more quickly than I anticipated it would. In our lower bracket semifinal, you just watched Shoma Yamamura run over Gabe Scher, quite frankly. Absolutely demolish the second new in a row. And as one of just 2 Uzuris in this entire Pro Tour, Shoma Yamamura has completely redefined the expected metagame at this moment in time.
That match ended up being faster than the Zen mirror that preceded it. Shoma just putting on a masterclass. And that's what happens when your Bonds of Agony rips 2 cards from your opponent's hand, and you also close it out with a fantastic Justin Nick. That card been taking a lot of names already in this top 8, Brian.
And Shoma Yamamura now in the Pro Tour Finals on the back of Uzuri. Going to be taking on none other than Bartosz Ziemba. Second time around for Bartosz. This is an absolute redemption story. Has played nothing but Zen mirrors so far in this top 8. Has been successful. Obviously very well built for that matchup. Now for the first time going to be tested by the class designed to prey on these ninjas. It is his first assassin matchup of the top 8. We spoke to Bartosz, says he feels very comfortable, Pankaj. You've looked over the list. How do you like his odds going into the deck designed to prey on him?
He has the defensive tools he needs, I believe, to maybe overcome some of Uzuri's tricks. He has 2 wax-ons, has the That All You Gots, and also, I believe, has 1 copy of Snag in his list. Probably gonna see all that come in very, very handy. But of course, Shoma has already shown that he is somewhat resistant to the classic tech that people are bringing in against Nu. Will those tech pieces be as good against him as it is against the Nu? We're going to have to wait to find out.
And Pankaj, there is only one way to go ahead and find out. It is by heading down to our feature match area. The players shuffling up for what is unquestionably the highest stakes match of their career. Although in Bartosz's case, it's a tie. It's a tie. We've played this finals before, and unfortunately for Bartosz, last time around was bested by Matthew Fulks in the finals of Pro Tour Lille. Now on a quest for redemption, playing Zen, of course.
My heart goes out to both these players, frankly. Bartosz has been here before. This time doesn't want to fail again after coming so close. But on the other side, Shoma Yamamura, first Pro Tour ever, hailing from Japan as well, coming up all the way to the finals, all the way in Amsterdam.
Impressive stuff. Why don't we start things off by taking a look at Bartosz's deck, and let's talk about exactly what the upside is here for Bartosz. There's a particular card, Pankaj, that you've been very, very impressed by in this list.
Yep. So 2 wax on. We didn't see it come in against the Zen mirror. As we pointed out, not too many targets against Zen, but against Uzuri, though, Leave No Witnesses, very, very critical card that costs 0, can be covered up by a wax on, and also those prognoses, those Bonds of Agony. You could potentially just put 1 block in your boots in front of it, and this wax on matches the Justin Nick value on the other side, blocking an extra 5. On top of that, That All You Got's very, very good to deal with those pesky little daggers that Uzuri can send at you. And of course, the 1-off Snag in the blue slot as well. Now, that Snag has multiple uses. Not only are you going to be able to cover up something like a Justin Nick, it can also, in a critical moment, help you turn on your Transcend.
Bartosz mentioned he thinks he found the secret sauce with this deck list. His friend in the calling top 8 with the identical list right now, apparently. So something special going on with this particular build of Zen. Going to have its work cut out for it, though, against Shoma Yamamura. We just heard from Shoma. So gracious. How could you not be a fan of this guy representing the nation of Japan, doing what he can to bring the good word of Flesh and Blood to that country, started his own Flesh and Blood store, fell in love with the game so much he wanted to be the first to open an exclusive Flesh and Blood store in Japan, did so in Osaka, where we will be joining him for Worlds. What an ambassador Shoma will make if he is also the reigning Pro Tour champion at that moment. And for Shoma, sure, the accolades are not there. Pretty obviously why. The game only just arriving in Japan. But this is the first time Shoma has left the country before. Never been on a trip like this. And to find yourself in the Pro Tour Finals on a hero that nobody respected coming into this event. You just can't write a better story, Pankaj.
Not only is he representing Japan, he is also just representing the entire Assassin class, it feels like, drafting new both times in this MST draft at Pro Tour Amsterdam, and of course, piloting Uzuri in the CC portion of it. Let's go ahead and take a look at Shoma's decklist.
So many tools here for this matchup. You almost just could point to any particular card and say, yep, that's pretty good. In the Zen matchup, there's plenty of defensive tools. There's plenty of disruptive tools. There's damage. It's all present here. Anything we should look for in terms of equipment loadout, or what exactly do you think Shoma's plan is going to be in this matchup? Is it just slow and steady damage, try and win on disruption?
It's going to be very similar to what he did against Brody Spurlock yesterday. Just make sure that the Zen can only play on 3 or fewer cards every single turn. Amnesia, not a card we've seen him play so far, just playing Assassin Mirrors. You know it's there for the Zen. And this time, I want to point out, we're finally going to be able to see him play some surgical extractions. He cited that card out for both of the earlier matchups into the news. Doesn't want to let news steal it. However, into Zen, that's yet another disruptive piece that's available to him.
I played a ton of Zen in the lead up to this event, and obviously there are a bunch of hate cards that everyone is targeting against Zen right now. There are things like the Weakest Link, Command and Conquer, just general disruption. No card was more annoying for me than Amnesia. It really is an absolute problem, and I think most decks don't have space for it. They're trying to hedge across as many matchups as possible. But Shoma, with the dedicated slot, goes ahead and adds Amnesia to the list. Is it going to pay dividends in this Pro Tour Finals? Only one way to find out. Our players are ready down in the feature match area, and this is it, Pankaj. This is for the Pro Tour Championship. It's Bartosz Ziemba taking on Shoma Yamamura, Zen versus Uzuri.
Gonna get right down into it. And you know Shoma Yamamura almost wants to see this matchup. This is the reason he brought Uzuri to this event, prepared to face the Zens and players with the fist bump. We're gonna get right into it. Equipment loadout on Shoma's side, this time running the balance. He was running the Crown Providence into both news earlier today. Ounce of Justice going to be very, very critical for him to survive some of those Art of War turns coming up from Bartosz's side.
Bartosz, of course, does have the choice here. Going second once again, as you would expect. Meanwhile, over on Shoma's side, going to try and just maybe tinker with Bartosz's hand here. You can't really go full disruption. You could also just pass, a very valid option in this matchup. You don't want to let your opponent get closer and closer to their power cards. Let's see how Shoma wants to play it.
So we saw him in the first quarterfinal of today go first and start with exactly this. Yeah. Isolate with Dominate, saying this is how I make up the deficit of going first over here. Unavoidable damage represented by this Dominate.
Yeah, and a couple options here. Has the swap, has the Just a Nick as well to just go ahead and buff over the top. And it does look like it's going to be Just a Nick here, representing 3 damage from Shoma.
Potentially playing into a snag. Looks like Bartosz does not have it. Gonna take that 3 damage and a banish off the top as well. Of course, only 1 snag in Bartosz's list as well, so very, very unlikely that he had it in that opening hand.
E-Strike off the top. Shoma just hunting for E-Strikes right now. We saw him devastate Gabe Scherer in the last matchup, taking 2 E-Strikes out of hand. Bartosz just gets 1 fresh card here.
Not a Transcend critically. And that's what Bartosz needs. Bartosz, he knows he's going to be under a lot of fire, a lot of disruption from this Uzuri. He needs to turn that Traverse live as soon as he can. Get that 7 block on that fridge. Though, of course, Shoma on his side with that Scale Peeler, he'll have something to say about that fridge.
Bartosz with the defense reaction already. That all you got. Potentially good to set up in Arsenal should he want to on this turn. Some options here from Bartosz.
Have to point out, holding the defense reaction in the face of that Isolate, he was set up to potentially use it if Shoma went for the Uzuri swap into a card that didn't have Dominate or wasn't CNC. He could have used the defense reaction to cover up the damage. Unfortunately, the card was a Just a Nick, so Dominate keyword sticking around there.
Kick things off with 100 wins here. Shoma, as you would expect from Uzuri, a lot of disruptive options on the next go-around are going to be available. Has the Stealth card, has the Leave No Witnesses, has Surgical Extraction. So Shoma going to have a bunch of options. Expect him to play this turn very defensively, preserve that life total whenever you can as Uzuri against Zen. No leak damage if you can avoid it.
Shoma happy to see a red come down from Bartosz's side. He understands the game shifts. It becomes very different after the Zen has transcended and the Traverse is live. But before then, you can perhaps play a little more defensively. You don't need to prioritize the scale peeler as much as after they have transcended.
Tiger taming Kakara just going to go ahead and come in for 2. And that is going to be it from Bartosz here. Just going to go ahead and pass. Turn heads back to Shoma. As we mentioned, several disruptive options available here.
And Bartosz holding on to that blue Descendant Gust Wave and arsenaling that all you got, recognizing his spot in this matchup as well. He doesn't want to just send that blue Descendant for 1 damage. Wants to make sure he can transcend off of it and actually do something threatening.
Yeah, was likely hoping for a dagger attack, I think, here. That was the best case scenario for Bartosz, because you would be able to go ahead and cash in that all you got. Isolate going to be a little trickier. That card does check upon combat chain end, so it's not going to survive an Uzuri swap should the total go up on that power.
That all you got in Arsenal, though. He's set up to block 6, but I believe we saw a Shred in Shoma's hand. Let's see if it comes down before the Uzuri swap, in case that's not an Assassin card. It is, though.
Yeah, it is just surgical, and this is also going to be backed up by the Shred, and that means the surgical is going to get over the top here.
That is not one Bartosz wants to see, because he's holding one of those Transcend cards, Brian.
Unfortunate news if you're a fan of Bartosz Ziemba. Certainly wanted to keep that Transcend going on this turn. And now Shoma's going to have the option, banishes another blue. This is a big deal, Ponkage, because you take another blue out of hand here and you have second silver lined up. That's an additional point of block from those Black Tech Whispers, as well as maybe another instance of Go again. That sounds like small potatoes. I assure you it is not.
Second potential Chi gone to the banner zone for Bartosz. And not only that, now Shoma knows information. He will know what ends up in Bartosz's arsenal here.
Things rolling well thus far for Shoma. It's just going to be Aspect of Tiger naked. Not an impressive attack here. Is going to, again, Arsenal Descendant on this turn, it looks like. So trying to pass that forward to a future turn, just begging that the next turn cycle also offers a Transcend card. 2 of them now removed from the deck.
Shoma over here just showcasing his understanding of this matchup. Red Shred, not really a card you would immediately think about as a card you want to bring into Zen. But we saw this against Brody yesterday as well, recognizing that you can actually shred equipment too.
Yes, certainly has found value from those shreds all day long. No Transcend card for Bartosz?
I don't think so. So a Chakra, Bonds, Aspect, and a Descendant.
Okay, Natural Bonds line.
Natural Bonds line. But no Transcend, very, very critically.
Spider's Bite kicks things off here for Shoma Yamamura. Black Tech Whisper is now ready to go critically.
With 2 silver as well.
Yep, going to get a rebuy on it for sure. Could offer some Go again on this turn. Uzuri typically struggles to find Go again. That's why you play things like Enlightened Strike, looking for a scrap. I remember early lists even going as far as Ravenous Rabble back in the day.
You have to wonder if your Bartosz. Shoma kept a full 5-card hand. Not something Uzuri typically does. Assassin class, not known. You want to keep full 5 cards.
Shakedown. Well, that's got to raise some alarm bells, Ponkage. 2 cards still in hand here from Shoma. Of course, Black Text could go ahead and turn this on. Could give it Go again as well if this is under block. You have to fear those shreds one more time. Do you overblock here? Do you just give a huge portion of your hand? Seems risky as well.
This is yet another fork that Uzuri puts you on. You might want to say, oh, if you don't put any cards to block, then they can't shred and they can't turn the shakedown on. But there's the 0-cost reaction on board in the form of this Black Text being threatened here. But if you do block, now shreds will just turn this on as well. And of course, remember, Bartosz is under the effect of Spider's Bite, is holding on to 1 non-attack that blocks 3 in the form of the Wind Chakra.
Yeah, no blocks, says Bartosz. So this is just only the start of the disruption here. 6 Go again. Shakedown now turned on for Uzuri. Going to go ahead and choose a color here.
You have to imagine he's picking blue. Wants to make sure keep Bartosz off that critical first Transcend. Also knows the arsenal is a blue Descendant Gust Wave. A lot of information available for Shoma Yamamura here.
Yeah, a bit of redundancy here in Bartosz's hand. Just taking that Gust Wave, not going to do anything. Set up with a redundant copy. But what comes next, Ponkage? This isn't the end of this turn thus far. And in fact, Spider's Bite is still on. So defending decisions do not get any easier for Bartosz from this point.
Especially if Shoma takes away that Wind Chakra from his hand as well. It's the only card in his hand that actually blocks for its printed value because it's not an attack action. Everything else is going to be reduced by the Spider's Bite. Shoma taking his time to make this decision. Live totals in his favor. Tempo in his favor. Still 3 cards remaining for him.
He's going to go ahead and take that Gust Wave. What is the follow-up here from Shoma? Leave no witnesses. Challenge that Arsenal as well.
And we know that Arsenal's another blue Descendant Gust Wave.
Still 2 cards, Ponkage. You could still be representing a shred here.
Bartosz with his head in his hands realizes the bit of a pickle that Shoma has put him in. You could just do what Shing did, which is if you're expecting a shred, you call no blocks. You leave the shred stranded in Shoma's hand, but you will lose your Descendant in your arsenal. And looking at his hand,
You also lose 4 life, Ponkage. And Shoma in these early turns has done a good job of getting aggressive as the Uzuri. And we see Uzuri's occasionally produce these bursty damage numbers out of nowhere.
yeah, double just a nick. Yeah, ended the previous game, I believe, suddenly with game at 8.
Think you're safe. Uzuri just kills you out of nowhere. And I see Bartosz flexing a lot of cards here.
Could also go the pudding route.
No blocks again. And leave no witnesses is going to hit here. 25 health for Bartosz. Goes ahead and clears that Descendant. Another card off the top. It's the Chase of the Tail. That's going to be a 3rd silver for Shoma.
And this hand, Brian, from Bartosz doesn't look very impressive.
Shoma thinking on the arsenal now. Heads into the next turn.
Looks to just be Kakara into Aspect of Tiger Body. Remember, Shoma, again, has all the information in the world. The turn might as well be face up from Bartosz.
Amnesia and Stealth attacks in hand for Shoma Yamamura. I even think I glimpsed the shred. I absolutely did. So the disruption train is not going to stop here. Bartosz absolutely in the blender early on in this Pro Tour finals. If you're Bartosz, you cannot let that doubt sink in. You have been here before. You experienced the heartbreak. That cannot be part of your thinking, your analysis right now. You have to distance yourself from it. Focus on the moment. Things not starting well on Bartosz's side, yet to transcend. How do you find your way out of this scenario? Back against the wall. Can you push through?
Resiliency, the name of the game here for both our players, but you know they have plenty of that, and that's why they're in the finals. We saw Bartosz have that in his game against Pudding Tom as well. Awkward draw, still managed to came out of it.
Black Tech Whisperers back again. This equipment showing its worth right now.
Yeah, it's worth 2 silver.
Feels like that's a bit of a bargain, Ponkage. I think you're getting a steal when you pay 2 silver for that Black Tech Whisperers.
Daylight Robbery. Expect that from the Assassins, don't you?
Fun fact. Development name of the weakest link. Daylight Robbery. Stumbled upon that one, Ponkage, and I'll reveal it.
Yeah, should have been called. That should have been what Black Tech Whisperers was called.
You're hired. Let's go. Coming back to Auckland with me.
Okay, Bartosz has found that Art of War.
No Transcend still, but Art of War could dig for it. We know Bartosz is ready for that, but here's a problem. Amnesia reduces Bartosz for 19. And like I said, this was the card that really troubled me in my Zen games. All the other disruption, I felt like I had branching paths. I could play around one. Amnesia feels like it just blunts everything you want to do.
It's like a juiced up Sensor. Normally when Sensor hits, you pick Crouching Tiger or Descendant Gust Wave? Stop the Bonds line, or do you stop the Tiger line? Amnesia says you get to do
Pick
neither.
everything. Yeah, I just pick all of it.
And coming back to information, we all know Bartosz's arsenal is that Bonds of Ancestry. Dead card under the effects of this Amnesia.
Extremely painful on hit there for Bartosz. On Shoma's side, I want to go ahead and point out critical difference in these lists from new. Balance of Justice available. And look, I'm not saying balance is better than Mask. They have different purposes, but Shoma kind of forced into playing balance in this matchup could be critical on this Art of War turn.
Speaking of force, Bartosz pitching a red for this Art of War, has found the blues for this Transcend though.
Finally, Homage comes off the top. Hand looking a little weak. It's all blues, but ultimately that Transcend going to be so critical for getting rolling in this game.
This could be the beginnings of some signs of life coming up from Bartosz. Going to be able to transcend this turn, going to be able to turn on the Traverse, but remember, still under the effects of that Amnesia. These Tigers, not as threatening when you're under Amnesia. Stuff like Chase the Tail does not work. Stuff like Tiger Swipe does not work.
Yeah, it's turning what could have been a decent offensive turn into more of a setup turn. But critically, that setup is now done. Traverse the universe online for future turns, and that is a big deal.
Shoma Yamamura probably debating about the Balance of Justice block that you brought up. Could be critical. You want to save it for an Art of War turn, but do you need it on an Art of War turn when your opponent's under the effects of Amnesia? Is this the power turn? You want to cash that in?
It's a good question, Ponkage. I will say this is a rare on-hit from Zen. Certainly incentivized to use your equipment in those moments.
Rare.
Once again, Shoma working with that shred that has been passed turn after turn. He hasn't needed it, just carried it forward. And I wonder if Bartosz is starting to get that read. What is this card that you would go ahead and pass forward turn after turn?
Well, we say rare on-hit from Zen, but again, under the effects of Amnesia.
Crouching Tiger, not that relevant.
Yeah. Well, Art of War, it is +1 damage because of the Art of War, but still, you know, no real combo effect being threatened. No Chase the Tail, no Tiger Swipe. So Shoma just goes ahead and lets that go, saying, you know what? You run some CNCs, you might have other on-hit effects.
And Zen still is going to be activated here, and I suppose this is just about raw damage at this moment. As you mentioned, those Crouching Tigers will get the buff from Art of War. You can go ahead and get something like a 1-for-5, the Mauling Chi. Just go ahead and present as much damage as possible, even if you're not going to be able to full combo. It is going to be Chase the Tail here. It's an interesting decision.
Yep. Cards that Bartosz owns right now don't have the names. But we've seen him do this before. Remember, in the game against Pudding Tom, he found a Chase the Tail, not for the combo effect. He just ended with the weakest link after that. But of course, this time, Chase the Tail won't even have the go again. So perhaps maybe using it as just a finisher.
Maybe just prioritizing getting that copy out there in the graveyard to find it with a future Bonds. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw Pudding do that to some really great effect as well. And was rewarded for it instantly.
This Crouching Tiger going to go ahead and come in for 2 now.
With the Shuko active. Unpreventable, unlikely to come up.
Now I wonder if we're going to see Shoma's offensive plan start to shift around that scale peeler. With that Traverse online, with the disruption potentially available, is it time to make sure all of those equipments are a little bit stunted in effectiveness? Balance of Justice does defend here. This time on the Tiger. Maybe a bit of a leak there, potentially. Could have closed off the Biting Breeze.
And, yep, Shoma just checking everything face up now for him. Card in Bartosz's hand, Crouching Tiger, Chase the Tail and Banish, Bonds of Ancestry in the arsenal. Shoma Yamamura can map out the damage on this turn and plan his blocks perfectly.
Bartosz going to take another read of Amnesia. Time to cash in the balance. Let's see what the draw is here from Shoma. 5-card hand, just a nick now part of the equation.
With the black decks bought back as well.
Yeah, I wonder if that means those black decks are looking to get in on the defensive action this go around. For now, just going to go ahead and take the 2 from this Tiger taming Kakara. Another Crouching Tiger as the follow-up, coming in for 1. Should be 2 on the back of that car. Oh, we are correct here. Yeah, good spot from Bartosz. Not going to have the name, therefore Tiger Taming Kakara not able to do its thing. Just 1. Again, another benefit of the amnesia.
Effectively turning off the weapon, turning it into a 2 for 2 instead of a 2 for 3. And Bartosz also recognizing the chase the tail, won't even have go again, going to use it at the end.
And there is that black tech, going to go ahead and come down, and this is just raw damage, a naked chain ender. Prioritize the chase the tail to go ahead and set it up in the graveyard for a potential future Bonds turn. Chose that over the damage. Makes a lot of sense.
Still quite a bit of damage, given that he had a bricked arsenal on this turn in the form of that Bonds.
I would agree. For an Art of War turn, kind of tame for an Art of War turn, frankly. Also, I'll point out the fact that Shoma has 5 cards in his hand right now.
And the one in Arsenal as well.
Yeah, it looks like a lot. Total output, 12.
For an Art of War turn, yeah, not so good after all, actually, but Chase the Tail going to go to the graveyard with the Bonds of Ancestry set up in Arsenal as well.
Leave No Witnesses going to do a little defense here. 2 more damage leaks.
And you have to be nervous about that. You see your Uzuri opponent go to their turn with 4 cards in hand, 1 in Arsenal, and they just blocked with an Arsenal disruptive piece in the form of Leave No Witnesses when they know you have Bonds of Ancestry in your Arsenal.
CNC, Persuasive Prognosis, Just a Nick, Shred, I believe, among the options that Shoma is working with in this case. What do? You could put your cards down on the table, Ponkage, and I would have no idea how to defend against this.
So one thing you have to be nervous about, if you're Bartosz, is that your opponent has Scale Peeler. They know you have Transcended. They know you have 7 block on equipment.
They're giving you the opportunity to spend it.
They didn't send the Scale Peeler.
What does that say?
They have a plan, even if you shove that 7 block in, and we know what that plan is. Just a Nick plus Shred will go over 7 block on the equipment.
The nightmare scenario.
Bartosz. It's been quite a few times we've seen him with his head in his hands here, Brian.
Has looked uncomfortable in this matchup all day long. Things have been, I won't say easy, but smooth sailing for Bartosz. Challenged a little bit by putting Tam in that mirror early on. Ultimately found the path forward. But now, things starting to get a little uncomfortable over on our first seed side.
Take a look at Bartosz's hand here. I see double Ancestral Harmony, Tiger Swipe, and an E-Strike. Bonds of Ancestry in Arsenal.
Well, potential output on that hand is somewhere between like 5 and 1 million.
Yeah, if the Ancestral Harmony hits a Descendant off the top, would be massive. But of course, you could also traverse to guarantee the Descendant. Well, I say guarantee. That's if.
For now.
Shoma has nothing to say about that.
For now, this hand would be set up extremely well in that scenario, but no blocks once again, and that is going to be just a Nick combining with the Black Tech Whisperers, and 6 more damage heads the way of Bartosz, but also disruption, and the turn is not over. Even more disruption to follow.
And life gain as well. This combination, Persuasive and Just a Nick, just gives you so much life. That's 2 actions banished. And if you banish another action from Bartosz's hand, that'll be 3 life gained.
Absolutely massive. Going to go ahead and take an Ancestral Harmony here.
That was 6 damage. Take a card from your opponent, gain 3 life. Talk about value.
And the turn is not over, Ponkage. It's Leave No Witnesses from Arsenal. Hand right now, I believe, Shred, Command, and Conquer. So, more disruption coming in the future. No blocks once more.
Doesn't want to walk into that Shred.
Yeah, and Bartosz is reading it perfectly. He has done what he needs to do to get around this Shred over and over. But in this case, goes ahead and gets a second silver and clears an Art of War from the top of the deck.
We all knew it was red Bonds of Ancestry in Arsenal, so that second silver was guaranteed. An Art of War off the top as well. That's 2 Art of Wars gone. And Bartosz right now at a 20 life point deficit.
7 vanilla damage is the only offer here. But the biggest thing to me, Ponkage, second silver, rebuying those Black Tech Whisperers, and I feel like Bartosz is going to be back in the exact same spot on the next turn cycle. He's read this shred, but to what end? It hasn't accomplished anything. It's just reinforced the idea that he is absolutely in the blender right now.
For the first time this game, it seems like Shoma working with a bit of incomplete information. Did take a look at Bartosz's hand, but E-Strike bottomed one of those cards. You can't know for sure what his arsenal is going to be, but that looks like it's going to be just very slim reprieve for Bartosz now in his seat.
You see Shoma gesture towards that leg slot. Yeah, and just going to take the damage. And if you're Bartosz facing down another 5-card hand from an assassin, the nightmare continues.
We have seen him use
Tunic up as well.
We have seen him use his life total as a resource very aggressively, slowly running out of that resource, Brian. 10 life for Bartosz.
Looks like we're kicking things off here with looking for a scrap, and now the damage matters a ton. Are we just going to go 3 chain links wide on this particular turn and offer lethal potentially? Levels double transcend in Bartosz's hand.
Would be very strong if he gets to keep that hand. Have a feeling Shoma's going to have something to say about that, if not from disruption, from just potentially raw damage when your opponent's at 10 life.
No blocks once again. Bartosz falls to 5. Action points still at the ready. It's scale peeler time, and a perfect time for that to come in.
When you're looking at a hand with 2 no blocks, you often look at the equipment to potentially bail you out. Scale peeler, though, saying that equipment going to be substantially reduced. 7 block on that fridge. If this scale peeler hits, goes all the way down to 3.
How can you not let the uncertainty start to creep in if you're in this spot as Bartosz Ziemba?
So one of the Transcend cards is Drop in the Ocean. So you can deny the on-hit of the Scale Peeler. You can double Transcend off of it. Drop in the Ocean, Path Well Traveled. Path Well Traveled doesn't matter. This already has Go again. Reduce this down to 0. Now your fridge still blocks 7 for what could come after that, and you're holding 2 chi already.
Some cost there, though, Ponkage. You do give up the resources from the 12-petal Kasaya, but still, you might be exactly right. That might be exactly what the doctor ordered on this particular turn cycle.
You also give your opponent a lot of information, but if you can still just shove 7 block in front of something, Shoma might not be able to do much with that information. Is that going to be the play here for Bartosz? Scale Peeler looks almost innocuous, but not when you're a hero like Zen. It really relies on that fridge.
3 cards still at the ready for Shoma. Bartosz Ziemba has played around Shred practically every single turn of this game. Does he continue to do so? Does he just want to go ahead and put the Shuko in front of this Scale Peeler? Of course, Piercing is going to activate, but 2 defense on the Shuko, and yes, that is going to go ahead and come down.
If you're Shoma, alarm bells to some extent need to be ringing.
Where does that leave the follow-up defense? Now only 5 potential defense.
Well,
any future block.
Well, including the Drop in the Ocean could be 6, but
6.
Shred can target this Shuko. Shred does say Assassin Attack. The dagger is an Assassin Attack. Doesn't say Assassin Attack action card. You have to wonder whether Shoma is thinking about that. This Shuko block, very, very almost aggressive from Bartosz over here. Doesn't want the Scale Peeler to hit. Is Shoma just going to cash in the Shred right here?
No, it is just going to be Command and Conquer paid for with the Shred. Very interesting.
Win for 6. Bartosz has the line to block 5 with equipment and double Transcend off of the CNC.
Is that worth 24 damage, Ponkage?
Without an Art of War, would be quite a tough ask, I think.
It's my read as well. Of course, you have options to things like partial blocks here. We talked a lot about splitting the stride and the traverse across multiple turns. We see that more and more from these Zens.
Reaching for the equipment is Bartosz.
Chakra, 3 block. Stride, up to 4. Saya, looking to cover 6.
Critically keeping the Traverse the Universe nice and pretty in that head slot.
Has knowledge that is not going to be subjected to a shred, of course. Command and Conquer, not an assassin attack, and it's just going to be an arsenal here for Shoma. Pankaj, this turn feels like the Pro Tour in the balance. If Bartosz Ziemba doesn't find offense here, I think he's in a world of trouble, barring something like an absolute brick on Shoma's next turn. Path well traveled, going to go ahead and target that levels. That means Zen going to be activated in response. 2 modes now available, and it's going to be draw a card as well as +2 since we have the go again from the path well traveled. The absolute best of the Transcend cards you can point the way of that levels while it's on.
Effectively getting all 3 modes off the level with just 2 blues pitched.
Tiger Swipe, the find here for Bartosz.
Find of the Zen, still going to have a random draw off the top. Could find a 3rd Art of War here, potentially. Currently levels coming in for 5 with go again. Draw again going to be resolved. Draw a card going to be resolved after the shuffle.
This feels like a big draw, Pankaj. 1 Art of War left in the deck. Bonds of Ancestry.
However, already has activated Zen to find that Tiger Swipe. We don't quite know what his arsenal is. Bonds might just be a dead card here.
Did that Bonds show up just a little bit too late to capitalize on its appearance?
Now, though, Shoma needs to decide how he's blocking. His levels for 5. Still plenty of offense being represented by Bartosz here.
Fate Foreseen coming out of hand. Just 1 damage going to leak. Shoma moves a card to the bottom of the deck. Falls to 23. 23 to 5 right now in Shoma Yamamura's favor. Chain Close, Ancestral Harmony, big reveal here. This round's on me. It's a miss for Bartosz. And that brings us to Tiger Taming Kakara now.
And you just know he was digging for a Descendant there.
Just 2 more damage. Crouching Tiger comes in for only 1.
And
No
1
defenses again, 20. And here's the Tiger Swipe. 4, go again with an on hit.
Creating a Tiger with no pump. Should be 5 because of the Ancestral Harmony.
Correct. Good catch by Shoma. Sync in hand, going to combine well with this Black Tech Whispers. Go ahead and clean that up entirely. Passes on the sync. Looks like empty Tiger, and that is the end of the turn, and not much happening there for Bartosz. Bonds heads to Arsenal. Critically going to need to produce some offense with that very, very soon.
Not much happening for Bartosz, but a lot happening for Shoma. That was not a stellar turn.
It's looking for a
after
scrap
the
again.
stride. And all Bartosz has now is a Traverse of Universe in the blocks. He's very quickly coming to a point where he needs to just give cards from hand on defense, not where you want to be as Zen.
Looking for a scrap one more time, trying to get wide. Traverse going to go ahead and defend, grabs the Chi. Bartosz is desperate to play one more large hand. What is that last card in Arsenal for Shoma? Looking to activate Flick Knives. I'm fearing the Spider's Bite here, absolutely. And does that mean one more disruptive effect rolled up in Arsenal, trying to spoil Bartosz's big turn?
With that Flick Knives, currently Bartosz would be going down to 1.
And that means you're on a 1-turn clock. Absent Life Gain does have the wax on here to further cover that up. So just the Spider's Bite going to hit. Bartosz going to fall to 4. But still, 2 resources floating. Here's the Arsenal. It's Codex of Frailty.
And if you're Shoma, you're actually happy to see that wax on. You just want cards from Bartosz at this point when he has already cashed in the Traverse. But look at his hand!
It is triple transcend, and it's going to get the fist bump! And Shoma Yamamura has won Pro Tour Amsterdam and is bringing the Pro Tour trophy back with him to Japan.
Won the Pro Tour on Uzuri Switchblade, not the assassin the people were thinking about at all coming to this Pro Tour. First Pro Tour for our Japanese player over here. What an incredible story for him.
And Bartosz Ziemba, gracious in defeat. You see a smile, you see a handshake. Nothing but a fierce competitor throughout this entire top 8. And again, falling just short. But today it's Shoma Yamamura's day, winning the Pro Tour as one of 2 Uzuris in the entire 390-plus person field. Shoma Yamamura has announced Japan's arrival on the scene for Flesh and Blood.